Welcome into another episode of the Book It Podcast. If you're an event or equipment rental business owner, you found yourself in the right place. Today, we're going to be continuing a series on part-time and seasonal hiring. Our first couple of episodes on this has been on who we're going to hire, and the other one has been on where we are going to hire them. Now, on this one, we're going to be talking about when we're going to hire them. Tell me if this sounds familiar for you. You have an upcoming weekend, maybe it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, even Thursday, and you have some people that have already called out. You got some people that are sick, a number of people that are traveling, and you're short 2, 3, 4, 10 people. And you're thinking to yourself, how am I going to make this work? You keep stacking people on people on people on various jobs, and pretty soon your full-time employees and everyone else, they're working a full weekend. And I have to tell you, we both know that that's not the best way to handle it. But it just feels like we're so busy. How else are we supposed to do it? We're going to try to panic hire someone. We're going to try to text someone that used to work with us, that it's been a year, 2 years since they've last done a job with us. We might ask our employees, hey, is your brother in town, or is your friend still available? I'm happy to pay him under the table, or any of these other just wild agreements that we make. And some of which might even make a job unprofitable. So all of a sudden, we're giving out all these lavish bonuses and these extra incentives just to get people to do the job that we're already paying them to do. And on top of that, we have an employee base that feels like they can take any time that they want off. And when they do that, we don't have any other option to back them up. So when we talk about when to hire someone, that is going to help set up this whole system to hire the who that we want to hire. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of tips that I've used in the past and how I set this up so that way we don't run into that chaotic last minute situation where we're hiring anyone with a pulse just to get someone in the door, and who knows what they're going to do. Do they have an active driver's license? We don't know because we haven't checked. Or do they have a criminal record and they're going to do something absolutely crazy on a job site? We don't know because we don't care because we haven't checked. Not only that, but when we're pairing these individuals up with our full-time employees and the other people that we're trying to retain, our employee base is coming back to us and they're saying, hey, this guy's not working out. The more and more we put those individuals with our A-team players, the more and more our A-team players get frustrated. And then the more frustrated they get, the more likely it is that they're going to bail on us one weekend. Hey, I've just worked way too much this past week or two. I need to take this off. And of course, that's going to come at the wrong moment because, well, it always comes at the wrong moment. So what we need to do is have a definitive system on when we hire our ideal employee. Let's fast forward to the end of the season. Everything was awesome. Everything was great. We made tons of money. And now it's time for business to slow down. Now, I'll get into in future episodes how to minimize the impact of our slow season and how to actually take advantage of the work that really does happen during that time. But at least for now, I realize that a good portion of rental businesses out there see a slowdown in business that they feel like they can't help. So we've reached our slow season, the busy season's behind us, and now we're set with two different options for our existing staffing base. And this is, I have a group of individuals that I would like to come back and work for me, and I have a group of individuals that I would rather they not come back. And we want to have a different type of conversation with each. With the group that we want to have come back, we're going to sit down with each of them individually, or we're going to call them on the phone and we're going to say, hey, you've done such a great job for us this past season. We've really enjoyed having you. You did a wonderful job with this and these other things. And I've been so impressed. I'd love for you to come work for us again. Are you interested in coming to work for us at the start of our next season? They're going to say yes or no. If they do say yes, then you jot down their name and say, that's awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. We're going to plan on it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to have key moments to follow up with them throughout the slow season. So a great excuse for following up with someone is the holidays. You might have Thanksgiving, you might have Christmas, and then of course comes in New Year's. These are great opportunities to check in with these individuals, let them know that you care about them, let them know that you are wanting them back and they're a part of the team. One of my favorite things to do is if you have a Christmas party, you welcome all the people back that have worked with you over the past season. And it doesn't matter if they're a full-time employee, you welcome them back, you have a great time with them, you celebrate, you thank them all for their hard work for you over the past year. Fast forward into the start of the new year. This is an ideal moment to start laying the groundwork for the upcoming busy season. But before we get to that, there's the other half. The other half is the people that we don't really want to have back. These are the people that showed up inconsistently, the people that just really didn't cut it. Maybe they physically couldn't keep up or there was some other issue. We're going to sit down with those individuals or give them a call and we're going to say, thank you so much for all your hard work for us over this past year. We've been immensely fortunate to have you on the team. I want you to know that no matter where you go next and whatever that opportunity is, please put me down as a reference. I'd be happy to share about the experience that we had with you in our business. What this does is that sends them off in a very positive note. The last thing we want to do is put people out there that we've sent off saying, hey, let's be honest, you didn't pull your weight or you didn't show up or you really disappointed me in that time that you kind of let the team down. We don't want to have a bad experience. We want to send them off, and the fact that we haven't asked for them to come back should be all the information that they need to know. And if they say, hey, I'd really enjoy coming back to work for you in upcoming seasons, I would have an honest conversation with them. To be honest with you, there was kind of a few things. Here's a couple of examples. And for this reason, we typically don't bring people back that haven't performed in this way. And then you leave it up to them. They might say, yeah, no, that kind of makes sense. I understand. Or they might say, you know what? I had some things that came up. I definitely didn't put my best foot forward. Would you be willing to give me another chance? Now, I'm a people believer. If someone stands there and they give their commitment to me that things are going to be better, at a minimum, I try to give them one more opportunity. And I'll typically tell them that. I like to believe in people. If I have your word that this is a blip or this was a season of time that you just did put your best foot forward, I'm willing to give you another opportunity. With that being said, that opportunity means that if you come back and you don't immediately show up in the way that you're committing to show up, we're going to move off of you. Is that fair? Beyond that, we're still going to hire without them being in mind for consideration for the upcoming season, because we know their history and their quality of work. And even then, there are, of course, some people that no matter how much they beg, borrow, and plead, we are not going to welcome them back. I've had some people that are kind of in the middle. They haven't really showed up all that much. They haven't been incredibly impressive. And I'm not impressed enough with their work to say, yeah, let's run it back. Let's do it again. But if they're genuine and they've said, hey, I've kind of gone through a few things and I would appreciate another opportunity to show up, I usually give them another shot. And I have to be honest, most of the time they show up in about the same way. But at some point, you might be a little bit surprised with the person that does show up. Now that we've informed the team members that we're wishing them the best and we haven't necessarily addressed if they're coming back or not unless they've asked, let's go back towards the start of the new year and as we're starting to prep for that upcoming season. So I typically like to start prepping about 2 to 3 months in advance. That means I want to make sure that all of my hiring materials are all set. I want to make sure that I have all my job ads set. I want to make sure that I know all the various places I'm going to start to post everything. I want to make sure that I have every single thing that I need ready to go so that way when the time comes to start posting that, I have it all set. And then I'd go ahead and post it. And I might even post that 2 to 3 months in advance of the busy season. Within that, I'm going to put something in there that says our busy season typically starts around whatever time that is. And that way I'm at least at a minimum communicating that this is a role that we're intentionally hiring for someone in the future. Not everyone's going to read that. You're going to reach out to some people and they're going to say, I actually really need a role right now today. And if that's the case, maybe there's still a way to work with that individual to come work for you at a later date. Because once that conversation started, you never know what opportunity could arise with that applicant. So I'm going to start to get applicants in, and I'm going to be focusing on the who that we've already identified as being that ideal applicant. So I'm going to have a system and a process to determine who those great candidates are. If they come with a good background in event rental, that might be a flag for me that this could be a really good applicant. if they have a good work history, if they have references. I'm going to be looking for all those indicators to vet and verify who the great applicants are. And then very simply, I'm going to shoot them a text or a phone call. We're going to do a quick screening to make sure that at a minimum, they have a basic understanding of the core tenets of the position, they're comfortable with the timing of the role, and that we have the basic elements matched. And as long as they get through that initial process, where I know that there's good synergy in what we're both looking for, I'll invite them in for an in-person conversation. Once they're there for an in-person conversation, and we'll get to all the tips on the interviewing process, from there, I will vet them, and I'm either going to extend an offer or I'm not. It's that simple. So we start that process early. Why? Well, we started early because if I can build out that team at the very start of the season before it's ever even started, I can go into that season doing a few key things. So we're going to bring back those employees from the prior year and the new people that we've hired, and we're going to have a start of season training refresher. We're going to maybe provide some light refreshments. We're going to do maybe a little bit of team building. We're going to talk about the business. We're going to get people excited about working for us again. The new people are going to learn from the old people. The old people will be both energized and also competitive for the hours that the new people are being brought in to fulfill. So we want to establish a little bit of that teamwork. That way, when someone shows up on their first shift, they've already met some of these people. They already know a little bit about what's happening. Now, there's a couple other reasons why we want to start early. Within the labor market, and especially as it relates to the hiring element, there's a pendulum that swings back and forth between the employer or the employee as far as who has a little bit more power within that economic period of time. And so if we go back in history, we'll find times that businesses were able to cut a deal for pretty much anything that they wanted because the jobs were limited. Now, when a lot of jobs are available in the marketplace and employees and prospective employees have their pick of where they want to go, all of a sudden, employers start having to pay a little bit higher wages. They have to get a little bit more competitive. Now, we want to build a system where despite whatever that economic period is, we have a good, robust labor bench. We don't want to put ourselves and our business in a position where if hiring in that labor market is very difficult because we have not planned in advance, now we're in a very difficult position. We have to take anyone with a pulse. We have to take people that are, let's be frank, very undesirable to hire. People that we don't want to have represent our business and our brand. So that is a great reason to hire early. The other reason for this is the rule of two. Now, when I've hired people in the past in event rental, what I've done is I've always shared universally across the board. We do not guarantee hours. We do not guarantee shifts. We do not guarantee anything. Whatever is on the schedule is what we can provide. That's the nature of the business. That's the nature of the industry. If I don't have work one weekend and I do another weekend, that's just sometimes how it works. So with that in mind, we're going to want to set that expectation. Now, the rule of two says I need double the number of employees that I need on my biggest weekend. Now, the reason for this is key. On my busiest weekend that I ever had, I had a third of my staff say that they were not available for that weekend. Now, I still made it work. It was very stressful. It was very difficult. And while we stayed compliant, it was not an experience that I would wish on anyone else, because there's always a way to manipulate that schedule to maximize your number of hours and all that other stuff. But we always want to have options. And that is something that we're going to return to, because ultimately, when it comes to when we hire employees, we always want to have options available. So if you get to your busiest weekend and you don't have the available people that you need, that's a problem. And you might say, well, I can't hire double the amount of people that I need on my busiest weekend. And I'll tell you one thing. This is why I shared with you the expectations story of when I hire. If I have 120 available shifts across 3 days, I'm probably not going to have 120 employees. I might be able to do that with 30 or 40 employees, depending on the size of the job. Now, if I have 60, 70, 80 employees, I can split those number of jobs between all of them. So maybe a lot of them work on one day, but not on the other. So a lot of them might work on Friday, or they might work on Saturday, or they might work on Sunday. So rather than fill everyone up for a very, very full weekend, everyone gets maybe one shift. Ultimately, when it comes to building your schedule, you want to have options. And so the more people you have, the more options you have available. And that enables you to make critical decisions within the business. If someone's not working out and it's very, very clear that there's going to be zero turnaround, you can move on from that person without feeling the pressure of the schedule. If a last minute booking comes in from your sales team and you have nowhere to put it and you need to bring in another team, you have a ton of options of people that you can call last minute. You want to have options. Someone's going to call out last minute. Are you going to be the person that's going to be filling in for them? Absolutely not. You're going to call and have a list of people that you can call to get someone in for that shift. You want and need options. And as there is some natural turnover, it puts you in a position where you're not having to stress hire a bunch of people because you're just trying to get through week to week to week to week. And when you hire the wrong people and you get them in, and then there's turnover, which is natural when you hire people that aren't the right fit. Not only do they turn over, but some of your good people turn over because they realize that you're just hiring anyone. And when you're just anyone, it doesn't make you feel good. It doesn't make you feel like this is a partnership. An employee wants to feel valued. If they know that there was a rigorous process to get into your organization and they were selected, they will understand that the bar is high and they will deliver based upon that bar. You don't want to just give yourself and your business away to just any employee. You need options. And when your hiring process inevitably lets someone into your business that's not the right fit, you need to have the options on how to replace them. When you have a large seasonal staff that, let's face it, they have a life and work and family outside of your business, when they have things that are going on in their lives, you need to be able to give them that time off guilt-free and have options waiting for them to fill in those shifts at that point in time. So you can't have too many people. Most every business that I see needs more individuals, needs more staff. And of course, the other part of this is you want to limit overtime. You want to limit fatigue. You want to put yourself in a position where you're running a safe operation. You're running a compliant operation. When you have fewer options, what I see consistently in businesses is that they will cross a compliant barrier in order to fulfill a client need because they felt like they didn't have any other option. And the last thing that we want is to put our team and our business in a situation where now we're having to make up for not having the right people in place. I have to say, what you don't want to put yourself in a position to do is to say, my team is so strong, we're in a really good spot, I don't want to bring on other people, it's going to send the wrong message, they're going to take hours that my team otherwise needs or relies on. The fact is, everyone needs a break at some point. Any of those team members could leave you at any moment in time. And when you hire someone, you don't necessarily have to promise them a certain number of hours. I've been in this position myself in younger years where I would have gone to a business and said, hey, I'm happy to really take on anything that you need. I have some spare time. And if you need me, great. If you don't, that's okay too. Just let me know. I'm really excited to pitch in if there's a place that I can be helpful. So there are absolutely people that you can hire that if you don't call them for 2 or 3 weeks, they're totally fine. And it puts you in a position where you at least have those people if you need them. You always, always, always want to have some kind of labor bench so that way when the need arises, you do have someone available. There's also the vacuum rule. Now, the vacuum rule essentially says, if this is our capacity as a business, and this capacity is based off of how many people that I have, and I fill this to capacity every single weekend, well, we might feel like we're really, really, really successful because we're filling that capacity. But if I opened up that capacity, which sometimes comes with a little bit of risk, often that extra space will fill with something. So we want to have capacity in our labor and our staff so that way we can have capacity within the business. And that capacity does not always come with an immense cost to it. That capacity and that cost with it will often increase as the work fills that. And that's a big part of how we want to build that. Another note as it relates to your team and hiring, is you don't want to put anyone in an uncomfortable situation where hours are being taken away from one person and given to another person, especially if someone's been loyal to you, because after all, you're just trying to build your business. So let me put it to you like this. Whatever your favorite sports team is, there's always a backup to the player that's on the field. And that's not an insult. That's just a simple fact. We all know that any moment in time, someone could get injured, someone could retire, someone could move on. That's a fact of life. All of your employees have a contingency on what they would do if things went wrong in your business. You also need contingencies so that way nothing goes wrong in yours. And it doesn't mean that that individual has to step in and take that work over. It simply means that you have someone on deck that could. Now, let's talk a little bit about what hiring looks like within the season. A lot of businesses will have ebbs and flows throughout their own season. And so sometimes we get lulled into a false sense of, I actually have kind of a bloated team. I don't really need to make any hires. I'm going to take down my job postings. I'm not really interested in bringing on more people. And then all of a sudden, everything kind of starts to go up a little bit. You get a little bit panicked. Maybe you bring on a couple people and the schedule dips down just a little bit more. Well, these seasons within the season help put business owners in a spot where they just don't always know what's going to happen and when. What we want, again, is to have options within the business. So what we're going to do is we're going to take whatever those highest quality locations were that we've been finding our best applicants from, we're going to leave those open. We're going to collect applications through those portals. And then if we do find someone that's a really strong fit, we're going to reach out to them and we're going to engage them in a conversation. Are they the right fit for the business? Are they better than maybe half or even 3/4 of your team as of today? If they are, go ahead and hire them. An extra hire or two during this season is not a make or break for your team. And you can be very transparent with them. We're experiencing a little bit of a lull, but here in the next 3 to 4 weeks, things are going to get a little bit busier. So bringing those individuals on when they're a high quality or they have some prior experience is always a good decision for your business. The other thing is it puts you in a position where when you maybe genuinely are in a very tough position from a staffing standpoint, rather than putting up a posting and immediately calling every single person that puts in an application, you have a list of people that have already put in applications. So if you need to rapidly hire someone, you have a wide variety of people that are available to you. And what I suggest you do in that situation is start with the most recent person who's put in an application, pick up the phone, give them a call, shoot them a text, whatever it is that you do in your hiring process, get them in quickly, evaluate them, and get them on a training shift for the upcoming week. Fill in whatever that spot is or that void is for that upcoming week. If you do any sort of working interview, it's a great opportunity to get them in on a shift, especially if you have a high need for an upcoming weekend. As is the case, a lot of staffing changes happen in waves. It'll sometimes feel like 5 people just quit, and it could be one person moved, one person got a new job, someone got injured out of work. It doesn't matter what it is. Sometimes it all just happens all at once. When it rains, it pours. And with that, we want to always have an option in place. And so not only will we have a good, robust labor bench of active employees that can always fill in at a moment's notice, we are also going to have an applicant pool, that funnel of people that are going to be in our business and waiting to come into our business. So that way we always have a plan in place. Ultimately, whatever you're doing right now, if you don't have a hiring plan in place based on the seasonality of your business, when do I hire? Approximately how many people do I hire? And what are some of the other things that I do with them throughout the year? Do I have a start of season refresher training? Do I know when I put up my job postings? Do I have all of these set on a calendar so that way I'm not just writing it down and throwing it into a file and uploading it to some software, actually utilizing this tangibly? If you don't have that, you need to build it. It can take 5 minutes. It doesn't need to be 1 page or 10 pages. It could very simply be, here's the moment that I start to hire. Here's where I prep all of my job postings. Here's when I actually post them. Here's when I start interviews. Here's typically when I do my start of season refresher training. All of that, put it down, throw it in the calendar, and put that on a cadence so that way it holds your team and yourself accountable to completing this every single year. And as the business changes and morphs, adjust that calendar just a little bit. So if your season starts a little bit earlier every single year, then put that a little bit earlier. And consequently, that's going to shift everything back a little bit more. So that's all we have for today. Thank you again for joining me. This has been the Book It Podcast. Do whatever you do by liking, subscribing, hitting whatever button makes the most sense other than maybe a thumbs down. And I'll see you on the next one.